Welcome to Seeking Alpha, the podcast where we're diving deep into crypto, careers, and the chaos of modern dating. I'm Larissa Bunziak.
And I'm Lindsay Poss. Together, we're two women who somehow found themselves at the intersection of crypto Twitter, Silicon Valley, and Tinder. Hi, everyone. I am flying solo today as Larissa is out fur shopping, finding more things she can cry into about her fabulous life. If you don't get that reference, go back and listen to our past episodes. I promise you they're all good and they're all fun. I am so excited today to bring you a conversation I had with Dayana Aleksandrovna, aka Decentralized, for those of you that know her on Twitter. Dayana is a events queen. She is a content queen. She has been in this space and working in this space for so long. And she is just a wonderful, wonderful presence and joy to be around. If you are out there and you run events, I highly recommend inviting her to your events to cover them for Cointelegraph or on her own channels. She is just truly a happy and warm and welcoming person in this space, which are the people that I love to surround myself with. So listen in for tips on how you can survive conferences, for what you should put into your coach bag, and just a really, really fun conversation. Happy conference season to all that celebrate. Hi. We're here. I'm excited to be here today. I am here with Dayana. I would love for you to introduce yourself.
I am Dayana, also known as Decentralized on X, on Lens, on Orb, and I am a multimedia producer at Cointelegraph. I've been a creator in the space for the last 2 years, and I am one of the people you're most likely to see at an event.
Yes, which is exactly why I wanted to bring you here today, because we've alluded to this in past episodes, Larissa and I have, and I think like for people both in the industry and then people that I explain like, oh, I work in crypto, and they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, a lot of what I do is go to conferences. But let's talk about the importance of events to the industry, because I think that this is kind of a unique feature. So how do you think events got so popular in our industry?
I think that events got popular because people honestly feel really lonely when you're working on something, when you're building. It could feel so insular. And at the same time, if you're a trader and you're following the markets and you're just dealing with like a huge market bleed, or, you know, your wallet's stumbling, you're like, am I crazy? So events serve the purpose of validating that no, you're not crazy. Yes, there are others like you. And sure, this could be fun, even though it's absolutely batshit crazy industry to work in. So I think this is why we're just craving connection, especially given the fact that a lot of people got involved with crypto during COVID and we were all locked up. And so it was finally, you know, such a fun thing to see your friends in real life.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I didn't think about kind of the COVID effect. Can I ask, how long have you been in crypto?
I've been interested since 2019, but I didn't start working in the space full time until 2023.
Gotcha, because I was kind of trying to go back and think about when events got popular, because I think you're right, like this may be kind of a COVID impact. But what strategy do you employ when you're like thinking about events, and how do you pick the ones that you go to?
Sure. So I have done almost the entire event circuit in the last 12 months. When I got involved with events, it was actually with my partner Jay, who took me to NFC Lisbon in 2023. And I didn't know much about NFTs. And I walked in and I was like, everyone's so cool and so fun and so interesting. And I remember talking to this one guy, Charlie, at the after party on the beach. And to this day, I've tried to find the guy. I have not found him. And I was like, so what do you do? Like, are you a developer, programmer? He's like, no, I work in branding. I'm like, wait a minute. I work in branding. I know how to do that. How can I join a project like you have and be a part of this space? And then we got into talking about making friends in the space, and he shared how he was bullied for a little while, actually a long time, until he joined Web3. And I was like, that's interesting, me too. And I kind of decided that I wanted to join Web3 events in that scene because there were so many genuine, fun people and a lot of vulnerable people, meaning that they're not afraid to show up and say, hey, I've had a shitty time with people in my career, but this new place is actually very welcoming. That was my first experience. And after going to NFC Lisbon, I was like, okay, I have got to find a way to get into this whole thing. To give you a little context, before crypto, I actually ran my own freelance business for something like 6 or 7 years. And that was as a creator, as a writer, and as a coach. So if you've ever seen those Instagram coaches, I was one of them, though not one of the cringe ones, okay? Just let me draw that line. Not like, hey, lovely, I've got 5 spots in my program. I've never said that, but you know. And I was really good at pitching. So what that means is like I would propose an idea, I would maybe propose myself to do a job, and then I would usually get a yes. Or if it wasn't a yes, it would be like, hey, next time. So I thought I would try that with crypto events. And I went on Moongate, and they have this great big spreadsheet of events that are happening everywhere. So I started looking through them. And me being a writer and a creative, the first thing I look for is the website pretty? Like, is the website good looking? Because if it looks rinky dink and it's not nice, I'm like, maybe that's not the best event. But if the website looks good and professional and sleek, then I go and see the speaker lineup. So who's speaking at the event? Do I see any people that I like? Do I see any friends? Do I see any people that I'm excited to meet? After that, I look at their social media. So are they on X? What are they saying? And if the event looks like it's good value in programming, if it looks like it's fun, and this is a huge plus if the location is good, then I'm like, hey, it's Dayana here. And I sent them an email. And that led me to do a lot of ETH events. In fact, most of the events, probably 90% of events that I've done have been in the Ethereum ecosystem. I ended up speaking at NFC the year after I first went, which was really cool. I would say one of the most fun ones was ECC for sure. DevCon, 10 out of 10. The one in Bangkok this year, amazing. Yes.
That's where we met.
And then some unexpected ones. So Naples ETH is an ETH event in Naples. That ended up being really fun on account of, yeah,
Wait,
Naples,
Florida
Italy.
or Naples, Italy?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make
So
sure.
that one ended up being really fun. I think just because it was set in Italy, like rebellious Italy, which is Naples, there were so many Italian guys like walking around like shirt and button to the nape. I'm like, oh my God, stop it, John Carlos and Lucas. It's very distracting. And actually, all the girls said that. There was good food, there was a good vibe. So I think this is definitely my criteria. Is it good value? Is it fun? And where is it? And if it's somewhere scenic, I'm probably down to go.
It does feel like so many events. And like I said, we met in Bangkok at DevCon, which was so great. And we actually met on a Mujang excursion. So we got to meet the baby hippo, and she was spectacular in real life. So shout out to Luxo and Dora and Offline for that, because that was a super fun excursion. But to your point, like, these events, and as you're saying it, because I mean, the criteria, of course, the quality of kind of connections and networking opportunities is for sure top of mind for me all the time. But the second part of it being kind of fun and also in a good location is, I think, a thing that's pretty unique to the industry, actually. This is almost like a way of executing a group vacation where I don't have to do any of the work, and it's with people that I like. And so I do wonder of how much of it is a function of this industry like skewing slightly younger and being super inclusive and being welcoming in a lot of parts. Not every single part of the industry, I want to be very clear, but in the parts that you and I occupy, we have like so many friends, and we form these connections, and we go on these trips, and we do excursions, and we have fun together. And so I wonder like how much of it is just basically crypto acting as a travel agent for everyone who's actually in the industry.
I
Like,
think
don't know,
that's
what
a
do you
really
think?
good point, because I always say this. You never end up living so close or spending so much time with your friends since college as you do in crypto. I think that's a huge gift. And I think that everything you said is true. I think it's important to have priorities. So, for example, don't forget to do your work while you're out hanging out with friends. But at the same time, like, if I know that you're going to be at some event and, like, I don't know, like Louis is going to be at some event and Boys Club's going to be at some event, I'm going to go to that event. So I think it's a huge factor. I think, like, we work with our friends, and a lot of the time, our friends are also our biggest connectors and open doors for us. So I think that even though something might feel like a vacation with friends, at the same time, you're getting to know people. Though I will say that it's important for people to be a good person, right? Don't forget that everything's still work, even if you're off the clock when you're in an environment with a lot of people from the industry. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that this is why so many of us look forward to all these trips so much, because a lot of it is inclusive. I have been to a couple of events which have not been inclusive at all, and it's kind of like a very small thing, like on a super yacht, like you need a pass to be there. But for the most part, the events that we go to in the Ethereum ecosystem, provide a ton of opportunities, and they are so, so much fun. And I think that if we continue to be able to be productive and do this, then let's keep doing this.
I totally agree. This is a finer point I've been thinking about because before crypto, I worked in both esports and gaming and also technology and tech policy. The environment here is so different, and I've been trying to, for years now, I've been kind of trying to pinpoint why. And one of the theories that I've come up with is that it's not that crypto isn't dominated by men, because for the most part it is. But the one thing that it has way less of, in my experience, is like male energy. So there's a lot less of that toxicity that exists in tech and in politics. These are blanket statements, so of course, like across the board, everyone's experience is going to be different. But it's been nice to be in environments that just don't feel as male dominated. So there can be the exact same number of men as there were before, but the energy level is just in a different place. It's a lot more open, it's a lot more friendly. Have you noticed that, or have you noticed that compared to other industries?
Yeah, for sure. And I have worked in male-dominated industries as well. I used to work for Bank of America for a bit in traditional finance, and I worked at a tech startup in Barcelona. So I've had my fair share. I also did door-to-door sales, which is like a story for another time. It depends on how we build our community, because I know some girls in the NFT space who surround themselves with a ton of guys. The content that they produce is for men. Like I'm talking about, talking about meme coins all the time. The stuff that you wear in your videos and photos is like super cut out, like bikini stuff like that. Like these are girls that choose to be in that kind of environment, and the majority of their following is men. And that's fine. If it works for them, like power to them. I think for girls like you and I, we consciously choose to create an environment that's full of female energy. So for example, places like SheFi, the SheFi summits are a great example of that. The boys club parties, even though boys club is more on the mixed side, it's still full of cool girls, a couple cool guys. So I think that if we choose to surround ourselves with feminine energy, there are spaces that are perfectly made for that.
Right, and that's kind of the biggest difference. For me, there's so many spaces I occupy within crypto where I don't even have to think about my gender. Actually, I think Boys Club is a great example because their events are usually like very much split. And I never have to think anything about my gender. Like I can just walk in and know that I'm about to meet like great people, and that's it. I wanna change lanes a little bit and just talk about the work that you do with Cointelegraph, because that's happening now and you're with a major publication. So how has your content and kind of coverage evolved from going independent to being with a major publication? And I know you still do some independent work, so tell me about that balance.
For sure.
And that
So
breakdown.
I did content independently for about 2 years, and I really like to report on cultural things. So for example, when I go to ECC or DevCon, I would write on my column a very culturally focused recap. So I'll talk about what people wore, what people ate, like who said what, like kind of like as if you were in the picture. Now, this is my work. For Cointelegraph, obviously the audience that does follow Cointelegraph is interested in other things. So they're interested in price, movements, what the market's doing, what policymakers are saying. So as a creator, I have to adhere to what the audience of the publication wants first and foremost. I think with that said, there are ways to infuse a bit of, something different, something fresh in the content. So a good example is recently, and this was way before the Hawk2A token got launched, my colleague Maxwell and I did a short recording where we were pretending to be like two podcasters, just saying like, hey, did you hear Haley's launching a token? Oh, no way. What's it about? Oh, it's a hawk. Is it about like actual hawk birds? No, I don't. So we did it like really fun and playful, and that ended up going viral on TikTok. It was the biggest and most viral TikTok that Cointelegraph ever posted. Wow. Last time I checked, it was 350,000 views. This was a good example of being able to infuse something fresh, a bit of personality, a bit of kind of riz into content that usually would be, hey, Bitcoin's at an all-time high. This is what Trump is saying. This is what Eric Trump is saying at an event that we're present. So I think that for any creators that are wondering what it'd be like to work for a big publication, I think the ideal balance would be to be able to express your creativity how you want on your platforms, as long as it doesn't come into conflict. And at the same time, find the publication that you can align with so that you do enjoy the work that you're doing. So my work, what that looks like daily is I would do research and see what's going on in the media. I will have a meeting with my editor, with my colleagues, and then we'll decide what we want to report on. And usually I end up writing a script, and then either somebody else records the script or I do record the script myself. So I sit here in this recording nook and I look into the camera, I report on what's going on. So something else that I am able to do, which I'm really thankful for as part of Cointelegraph, is I'm able to go to events. So before I worked at Cointelegraph, I would actually pay out of pocket to be at these events. And as much as I love Ethereum events, I'm yet to have an event as an independent pay for my expenses to get there and to stay there. Unless I'm doing an activation with someone or unless I'm being sent by a publication, I've always had to spend money out of pocket. And while that has been fun in a way that I can say whatever I want, write whatever I want, I still have to spend thousands of dollars traveling. And as someone who does this now for a publication, everything's covered. At the same time, I'm there to do a specific job, so I don't necessarily get to pull up whatever person I like and interview them. I have a lineup, like these are the people you're talking to today. So I think it definitely has its pluses and minuses, but I think you can strike a good balance if you're able to find a role that supports you financially, and at the same time, if you create a community or a platform for yourself on a place like Orb, you can start your own talk show there. You can post your photos there. You can write on different platforms that are coming up on Lens, for example. So you get to have that stability and to have that creativity as well.
Going from being independent to being with a major publication, did you have to change how you selected events at all? Did that make you look at what you're picking to go to any differently?
Yeah, I think that the criteria now is slightly different because if I go on behalf of the media publication, certain requirements have to be met, and this goes for any publication ever. But for example, the lineup has to be aligned with what the media publication reports on. So who are the speakers? If I go as an independent, for example, and there aren't really any notable speakers, but it looks fun, I could still go. But if there aren't any notable speakers that are of interest, then there is no value in sending me to an event. Organization matters as well. And as much as I love helping first-time organizers, if I'm being sent on behalf of a big publication, that's probably not going to be the case just because things tend to be really chaotic and really messy. And I think that another factor is if I go on behalf of a publication versus by myself, what are the expectations? So if a media partners with an event, what the expectation might be would be a shout out on social or maybe a recap, and that will be written very differently than if I went by myself. So I think when going on behalf of a publication, I have to look at the value first, the speaker lineup, the size of the event, and the reputation. And if I choose to go by myself, what I would look for is, is it fun? Where is it based? Who's going that I probably like, and how messy is it really gonna be?
How have you felt supported as an independent creator and now as a creator that's actually working for a major publication in the industry? We both know a lot of folks who are content creators, and obviously it's a tough lifestyle, getting paid for your work, getting your work valued. How have you felt about that in this transition, both before and now?
Yeah, I would say when I was an independent, my friends have been a huge support, and shout out to Emily Lai from Hype, actually. She's always talked very nicely about me to other people. A lot of friends would share my content or would tag me in opportunities that they see fit or would forward my content to someone that might be hiring. And I think that's huge because I don't like to look at people as like followers. I think that's kind of a weird way to look at a dynamic. I look at people as friends, and it's really good to have friends who are engaged when you're a creator, and you might want to do that for them as well. So I think that it's a question of having a very equal balance. I do have to say that Lens has been very supportive of creators. I know that they're always open to ideas. I ended up doing a really, really epic activation with Avara, and that was towards the end of my independent days as a creator. I was at DEF CON actually with the Avara team, and what we did was an activation on Lens, activation for the family wallet, and then an activation for Aave as well. And they were just so amazing to work with, highly organized, incredibly professional, which I value so much because it relieves my anxiety. Everything was top notch. Like, we all know that the merch was excellent. And I think that what they did that I'm really thankful for is they saw me post on Orb day after day after day for like 4 months on end and being really engaged. And they were like, hey, do you want to collab with us? And I was like, yeah, and we just did it. So that was amazing. But it can be quite tough. I ran a business on
Right.
Instagram alone, and it was a very, very profitable business. It was like 100K a year, 180K a year, which is like really good objectively. And what I would do there is I would post content every single day and I would promote my services. So that was copywriting when I was copywriting full time, or that would be business coaching for other copywriters when I got to that point. The money was great, but it came at a huge mental health cost, because you wake up and you're like, oh my God, my reel has like 10 views. This is terrible. I have to have all these DM conversations. And it can be really, really tough. It could be very rewarding, but it takes consistency. So if you want to retain all of your creative freedom, you can definitely do that. But just know that it's kind of like diamond hands, like you're in it for the long haul and you just can't quit. I would say now, as a part of Cointelegraph, I jokingly say that I've got my agent. She's amazing. She works at events for Cointelegraph, and the events that invite me or that I'm interested in going to go through her, my colleague there. And so it has been really nice because I don't have to negotiate every single thing by myself. And I tend to be the person that's like, oh, you're an Ethereum event founder. I know you guys don't get a lot of money. Like, I'm sure I'll pay out of pocket for my stuff. And then I look at plane tickets and it's like $3,000. I'm like, maybe not.
Yeah, that's a lot. I'm really fascinated by this transition from kind of like Web 2 tooling to like Web 3 tooling and the community aspect that feels maybe different. Is that an accurate
Yeah,
analysis
I
there?
think that
Like the community on Instagram versus the community on maybe like Orbit
for
Lens,
sure.
Twitter.
I think that on
What?
Instagram, and I'm very vocal about this because I just really don't care at this point, but it's like a lot of this kind of salesy tactics. It's like so many DMs that I get, and they're all kind of the same, like, hey, I was really impressed by your content. Would you like to join my cohort of blah, blah, blah? Or like, I had this, I've had many such cases, but one time a money coach that I met on some virtual event sent me a series of very, very nice voice notes. She was so lovely. I played them to Jay. He was like, oh my God, like she sounds so genuine. Followed by, yeah, so I'm launching a 2-month mastermind at only $5,000. Would you like to join? And I was like, very politely, I said very politely, no, thank you. Ghosted me. Never heard back. Like I even watched some of her live streams and supported her with likes and comments and whatever. Never heard back. So that's the community on Instagram from my experience. Very self-interested. It's very sad when you see people on Instagram first and foremost thinking about how much worth of stuff they can sell you and the ultimate price tag, rather than what's the work going to be like? Is it going to make a difference? Is it going to be fun? On Orb, I've been received so well. When I first started posting on there, Jessie Jean, who's a big time influencer on Orb, reposted my stuff and she was like, hey, you guys should go follow Dayana. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And she's not asking me to join her paid club. She's not asking me to do anything for her. I've had Stani himself repost my content, and I got my first 100 followers after he reposted something that I said about Lens. And from there, like it just kept on going. And so I think the vibe has been so, so different. And when I've run into issues, like tech issues, like I sent money to the wrong address kind of thing, I've had Kipto and Nilesh from Orb basically telegram me and be like, hey, so let's figure out how we can help you with this. And if we can't, like, here's some bonsai so you can open your club on Orb. Like that would never happen on Instagram ever.
We are lucky to be in an industry that is
Yeah.
big and small at the same time, which is really, really fun. I want to take the last couple minutes to talk about the wildest event stories you have, because when we were planning for this episode, you dropped about 8 different things into the DMs about, oh, I can talk about this, and I can talk about this, and I can talk about this. We've talked about all the good side of events and the fact that it's kind of like a group gathering, that you can build a really, really strong community, that you can learn so much. What's the other side? What's the wild
I've
side?
had some cringe situations. So recently when I went to Abu Dhabi, I was supposed to go see a talk by the CEO of Binance, Richard Tang, on a boat. I have low-grade anxiety, right? So I'm like, okay, like it's 12 o'clock. I'm like a half hour away from the marina. I'm just going to get a taxi. I'm going to get there like with time. Little did I know that actually getting to the boat from the marina is like a 45-minute walk. So I arrived there And I'm like, oh my gosh, Richard's talk starts in 20 minutes and I'm a 40-minute walk away. So I start running, and I arrive there on the boat like at 1:30 on the dot. And I'm like, hey, like, it's so nice to meet you, Richard. Like, my name's Diana. And then the CEO of Cointelegraph's like in the back. It's the first day that we're meeting. And Richard looks at me, he was like, oh my, you're perspired. Should we get you some paper? And I'm just like standing there, like absolutely mortified. Like I'm wearing a white top and white shorts, and he can still see that I'm sweaty. I'm like, do I smell? Like, how bad is why is no that? And,
Oh
and I'm like, I want to say like, oh no, it's okay. But then I feel like if I say, oh no, it's fine, he'll be like, but no, it's not fine. Like you're actually gross. So then I said, yeah,
no.
maybe
Yeah.
I should get some paper. So I like kind of like awkwardly like, like dab my forehead. And then we proceed to do the interview and like everything's fine and like no one says anything. But that was so, so embarrassing. And luckily he was like really cool about it. Like he commented on my post later on and he was like, oh, I hope I didn't bore you to death. I'm like, no, 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 it's fine. It's fine.
Right, yeah. No, the opposite of bored to death.
Yes.
Terrified for life. Thank
So
you.
from now on, I always carry a change of clothes because you never know. Like, this is advice for everyone. Always carry deodorant or some kind of a roll-on little perfume, and always
Yes.
carry a spare shirt. Maybe wear that and change into your nice outfit when you get to the event because you never know what distances are going to be like in reality. So, lesson learned. Yeah.
Yes.
Always
Also,
have
always
gum.
have gum.
That too.
That's the thing that I always have
Yes.
gum or mints.
You'd be surprised.
sure.
Like, a lot of people don't realize that.
I really felt like an adult when I started carrying it. So when I go to conferences, there's one specific bag that I carry. It's like my favorite bag ever. I love this bag. It's like a 15-year-old Coach bag. It's actually a hand-me-down from my sister. Like, and it looks brand new. Like we've both just kept it so nice. But that bag, it's like my little magic bag. Like it has everything. It's got hand sanitizer, hand cream, gum, Band-Aids, napkins, extra utensils, a mini deodorant, chapstick. If I'm walking around with that, like that's how you know I mean business. Like I'm prepared for anything. That's my
I
like
need a
go-to
bag.
bag.
There should be
I
like
love
a
it.
brand that kind of just gives go-to bags to busy girls at events. That would be epic. Not like a tote, but an actual bag with pockets and everything.
Well, that's why I like the Coach bag. It's got the internal pocket. Like the pockets have specific things in them. Everything's organized. It fits my laptop perfectly. But you're giving me swag ideas. This is good.
I can think of another cringe story. That was my second or third event that I did in crypto. It was in Valencia, Spain, of all places, and I think it was called NFT Show World, something like that. So I'm sitting there minding my own business because Jay was sick that day, so he couldn't come. And, I don't mind being alone at events. So I'm sitting listening to this session on branding by a guy that works at Animoca. I'm like, this is cool. Like, this guy knows his stuff. That's interesting. So then I'm like, I've got nothing else to do. Like, guy gets off the stage and I just walk over to him and I start chatting with him. And like, we're walking through the venue. And then about 2 minutes into the conversation, I'm like looking on both sides. I'm like, why are there bodyguards around us? There's like people that are trying to get to this guy and they see me and they're like waiting for me to like remove myself so I could talk to this guy. I'm like, who is this guy? So that was the COO of Animoca Brands himself. That was Arnoldo. And I'm like chatting. I'm like, what's your Twitter handle? Like, should we get a selfie? It was, so that was a little embarrassing after I found out who that was.
I've definitely done that with the CEO of MoneyGram, actually. I walked in to an event and I was helping organize it, and I was like, does anyone know who Alex Holmes is? And he raises his hand, he goes, that's me. And I was like, okay, great, you're about to be on stage. And he goes, yeah, okay, I guess you wouldn't know who I am. Cool, thanks. And he was super cool though. Like he laughed, like he was laughing as he said that. And later on, like he went upstairs to talk, and I was like,
Ouch.
oh, he's on stage to be like the person on
funny.
stage. Like, whoops. But he was a super, super nice guy, and I honestly think that he was like a little bit tickled by being treated like a regular
Maybe.
person.
Like, that shows you who's cool and who's not.
So I got
Exactly.
away with it. Yeah, I got away
Oh.
with it that time. I went to Bitcoin Miami, which the Bitcoin conferences, actually, I have stories for each one of those. But Miami was great. Like, Miami was actually one of the best conferences I've ever attended. It was 2023. One of the, like, not so secrets of our industry is, like, people don't go to the main event, they go to all the side events. I actually went to the main event at Bitcoin Miami. Fantastic speakers. But my friends and I went on a sort of mini scavenger hunt created by one of our other friends around the city. And we wound up on the beach at 3 a.m. learning how to fire spin from someone who is really, really deep in the Burning Man community. And I have these videos of me like learning how to fire spin. So that was super fun. And then my Bitcoin Nashville story, which was the opposite. It was pretty much the worst conference I've ever been to. Like, you don't talk about male-dominated energy. It was like a room of 20,000 really sad, really angry men. And it was honestly just like heartbreaking. And I had an emotional hangover afterwards.
I think it was actually Dina from Boys Club who talked about it on the podcast. And I think it was like heavily male-dominated, besides like one prominent woman who was Haley Welsh, hooked to a girl and hot water now.
Yes. But it was just like, so when I talk about like the energy, like I've walked into plenty of rooms that are male dominated and felt nothing. And I've walked into other ones where it's very clear. This was like a lot of very hurt people, like a lot. And it was just, it was very, like the conversations were very difficult. I watched Wiley Nickel, who's a Democrat from North Carolina and like wonderful legislative proponent of crypto, get booed on stage because he was a Democrat. Cynthia Lummis spoke. As someone who used to work on the policy side of things, like I really like working across the aisle and with different people who want to have smart regulations and enable innovation. And I don't think that party affiliation for that matters. And just seeing the like rabid fervor around like cult of personality means cult of technology, it was like, it was wild. Because Miami, like I said, was wonderful. And I learned so much. And that was probably like more male energy in that room for sure. But it was smart people and really fascinating conversations and really good debates. And then Nashville, I was just like, whoa, this is a whole new type of like online person in real life that like I am simply not familiar with their game. I am emotionally unprepared.
I think it might be better next year, given
wild.
that Trump actually got elected. So the hurt people will be a little bit less hurt. But yeah, I think it's definitely a difference in sort of like everything emotional to like how you feel when you enter a room between a Bitcoin conference and an Ethereum conference. And again, like I think, you know, like there are a lot of Bitcoin maxis out there, which is fine. Like that's totally fine. There's Ethereum maxis, which is also fine. Like believe in whatever you want. But I think that Ethereum events tend to think more like, how can we have more women here? How can we have spaces for people to relax? Like at DEF CON, there were actual massage spaces. Like they really think about that aspect of like recharging and that kind of self-preservation even. Like they think emotionally versus like the Bitcoin event that I went to recently was just like one big floor, like a big stage, and then the smaller stages were just on the floor, and it was like people walking back and forth and no nooks, no nothing, like very little merch. The merch was terrible. I did not get anything going in there. It's the one event I did not get a single piece of merch from. I jokingly said, if I'm gonna walk out with a piece of merch, it's gonna be that dune buggy over there that was like up for a raffle, because everything else is just so bad. And I think also like at Ethereum events, you can really relax and be yourself and wear whatever you want. I have noticed a lot of women at the event I recently went to were like wearing like tight skirts, tight dresses, like a bunch of cleavage. And at an Ethereum event, you just don't see that because there's no need for that. You can be a BD and wear pajamas. You don't have to like go and like be this whole made up like high heels, like, you know, kind of person. And again, if a woman wants to dress like that, she loves it, like power to her. But I feel like it was...
That's me, by the way.
Okay.
I want to be clear. I like to be a Barbie wherever I go.
But it was almost like, you know, like you're kind of like putting on this display for someone else to look, not because you necessarily want to do that.
I do totally get that. Yeah, the vibe shifts are much different, that's for sure. I don't know how Bitcoin Las Vegas
I am not going. I am terrified. Someone else is going. I've said I'm not going to that. So good luck.
I think I might not be able to stay away.
You report back.
I know myself. Yeah, you might see me live on the couch in Las Vegas.
I want popcorn.
Yeah, I think it would be fun. I think it would be fun and also draining. Like sometimes I come back from these conferences very energized. I came back from DEF CON super energized. I don't think that I will necessarily come back from a Bitcoin conference energized, but I think it'll be an experience, and I love that.
That's my 2 cents as well. Like, I came back from DEF CON. I was actually depressed for 2 weeks because was so fun.
Oh, you had the
But like,
postcard
yes, it was so much
blues.
fun, and I didn't want it to be over. And I was like, Jay and I came back, and we settled. We're
Mhm.
still nomadic in Europe, but we settled in this beach town. And I'm like, there's just a whole lot of beach and nothing else around me. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, where are my friends?
Where are my grab bikes and my daily smoothies and all my
Exactly. But
friends?
then, like, coming back from other events, like, I would get on the plane and I'd be like, okay, good. Thank God, this is over. Going home. Yeah,
Well, on that note, thank you so, so much for talking to me
it's
today.
so
This
fun.
was so fun. Where can people find you, follow you, stay up
Well,
to date with what you're doing?
ideally,
Plug
people will be
everything.
on Orb, which means lens, and I am D_centralized on there, and I'm also on X at D_centralized.
And
That's
it's D D
DEE,
E
like
E, right?
Dexter's sister from Dexter's Lab. If you're a millennial, if you're not,
Yeah.
please don't talk to me because you're way too young. I'm joking. But yeah, that's DEE_centralized with a Z. Thanks for
Perfect.
having
Thank you so, so much. Appreciate it.